Hey guys, it's Mrs. E. I'm recording this video from home for you to watch. I hope you guys are doing okay this week. I sure do miss you all. I'm starting to feel better, but again, it's just one of those, it's the terrible time that we're going through right now. So, but I hope everything's going well and that you guys are getting along okay. So anyways, here we go. So we should have taken our test yesterday. We're starting a new chapter, chapter 3. We are not going to learn the entire chapter. We're only going to get through a few sections of it, and I'll explain more Monday when I return. But we're going to go ahead and get started with 3.1. So just like always, we're going to follow along with our notes and take notes. You will be able to use this when we go to take our first quiz. Okay, so make sure you're doing a good job writing your notes. So first thing we're going to look at here are parallel lines. Parallel lines are two coplanar lines that never intersect. Okay, you're going to see a symbol for this. The symbol actually looks like two parallel lines, two vertical lines. Okay, and it looks like this. So if I want to say that lines M and N are parallel, I can write down M, parallel lines, and then N. So if you look, remember in a picture, lines are parallel when they have these little arrows. Okay, so I have two little arrows on here. So it's almost like the tick marks, but it's different. So we have two arrows. Now you can have more than one arrow. You could have two, you could have three. As long as they have the same number of arrows, those lines are considered parallel. Now we also have these lines called skew lines. They're two non-coplanar lines that never intersect. So for example, if I look, this line K is actually passing through these planes, and it happens to be skew with M. So line M is back here. So I would consider those two skew lines because they're never going to cross, ever. N and K, though, are not considered skew lines because they intersect right here at this point. Okay, so we wouldn't consider those ones to be skew, only M and K. And then parallel planes are two planes that never intersect. So we've got a plane here, plane T, that's yellow. And then I have this other plane below it, U. Think about the ceiling and the floor. The ceiling and the floor would never intersect. So those two planes are considered parallel. Okay, so I want you guys to go ahead and take a few minutes and I want you to answer each of these questions. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and have the kids answer these questions, and then we'll go ahead and press play once they've had a few minutes to answer them. Okay, so now hopefully we've answered these. So our first question says, which lines are parallel to line CD? So let's first take a look at line CD. So you can see it's right here. I'm coloring over it. So we want to list all the lines that are parallel to CD. Well, AB would be considered parallel with it and never crosses. So we've got capital A, capital B, and then we've got our little symbol. Sorry, I'm trying to fit it in there. I'm doing a very poor job here. There we go. Okay, so I've got line A and then B. And let's see, what else do we have? We have line F and E. Make sure you're doing capital letters. I don't know if you guys can hear. My dog Hogan is snoring in the background here. And then I've got points G and H. They happen to all be parallel. So 3 lines here that are parallel to line CD. Okay, next question. Says which lines are skew to CD? So remember, these are lines that aren't going to touch line CD. So lines like that would be, for example, line BG. We also have line EH. We also have line, let's see, FG. And then there's one more that I can think of. It's this random one that's diagonal. Line AG. Now notice I didn't list any of the ones that were parallel to it, right? Because technically our definition says two non-coplanar lines that never intersect, okay? And we're not consider them to be parallel, okay? So they have to not be parallel. Okay, now we have which lines are perpendicular to CD. Okay, so looking at CD, remember perpendicular means that they make a nice right angle. Remember the upside down T means that they are gonna make that right angle, that 90-degree angle. So we always have the box. So I've got CD and AD. I know it's not actually a line, it's a line segment, but I'm gonna write it as a line since it did ask for which lines are perpendicular. I also have this one, CB, and then we have the ones that go up and down with it. So I've got DE, and then our last one, CF. Okay, and then the last question, which plane or planes are parallel to plane EFG? So if I'm looking at points E, F, and G, they're all on this like floor of the box. So we need the plane that's never going to intersect with that one, which would be the one on the top. So again, like the ceiling and the floor. So remember how we name planes? You have to pick 3 of the points on that plane. So either C, D, and A, or you could have done C, D, and B. As long as you're picking 1 of the, or 3 of those 4 points, it will work. So I'm just gonna list it as C, D, A. Okay, so that brings us to these postulates. Again, remember postulates are very obvious things, so we never have to do a proof for it. The parallel postulate says if there is a line and a point not on the line, so here's our point not on the line, here's our line, then there exists exactly one line that's going to pass through this point and be parallel to the line. So go ahead and draw in that one line for me. Do your best to try to make it look parallel. And then let's add in the arrows to show that they're going to actually be parallel. Okay, that brings us to the perpendicular postulate. It says if there is a line, which you guys can see, here's our line. So if there's a line and then there's a point not on the line, then there exists exactly one line through that point that's perpendicular to the given line. So go ahead and draw it in that line that's going to be perpendicular to that line that's going to pass through that point. And then remember how you show to someone else that it's actually perpendicular. You have to add in that nice little box. Okay, so that brings us to this next definition called a transversal. A transversal is a line, specifically it's this red one right here, okay? And it intersects 2 or more coplanar lines at different points. So this is considered a coplanar because it's in the same plane, right? And this line right here is considered coplanar because it's in the same plane. So both these black lines are considered in the same plane as the transversal, which is this red one. And often you're gonna see next to that red line that's passing through the other lines, we usually name the transversal with a lowercase t for transversal. Now I know in this drawing we only have 2 lines, but technically there can be many lines, right? I could have tons of lines. As long as it's passing through the transversal, that red one is considered the transversal. Okay, so the main point of today's lesson is truthfully memorizing these names, okay? It's gonna be really, really important for the rest of the chapter that you understand why these angles are important and why they're called the certain things that they are, okay? So we've got 4 different types. We've got corresponding angles, we've got alternate interior angles, consecutive angles, and alternate exterior angles. You'll notice with all of these that we have transversals. So the first thing I'd like you to do is go ahead and take your pencil and I want you to color over the transversals for me. Remember, the transversal is a line that's passing through the other ones. So for corresponding angles, hopefully you're coloring over this one. Okay, so continue to do that for me for all of them. And you can listen to Hogan, my dog, snoring. Oh, the joy of being at home. I guess it's better than my kids screaming, right? Okay, so all of those are our transversals. Okay, so the numbers that you see in these are just having you focus on that angle specifically. Okay, it has nothing to do with how many degrees it is. Okay, it's just helping you try to understand why these angles are called what they are. So let's go ahead and talk about this first one. So the word corresponding should hopefully mean something to you. To me, when I hear the word corresponding, I think match up, because they're really the ones in the same location. So what I mean by that, look at where angle 2 is, and then look at where angle 6 is. I've kind of created two spots with this. Right here, do you see that there's actually 4 angles? And then down here there's also 4 angles. If we think about those in chunks, the one on the top and the one on the bottom, angle 2 and angle 6, are both in the upper right. Okay, right angle 2 here is in the right side of this transversal. Okay, 6 is also on the right side of this transversal. And they're both above these 2 lines. So they're both in the same spot, the corresponding part. Okay, so for example, we have other pairs. This angle is on the left and on the top. It's also corresponding with this one on the left and the top. I'm going to use different colors to help you understand this a little bit more. On the bottom and on the right side is this angle. Also on the bottom and the right side is this angle. So that's another pair of corresponding angles. And then of course I have my last pair, which would be on the left and on the bottom. So key thing I want you to remember, corresponding angles are in the same spot. Okay? So then we're on to alternate interior angles. So think about the words. Alternate means like every other. Okay? Or on different sides. Interior versus exterior. Interior means on the inside. So we're talking about on the inside of our 2 lines that we're given. So if we look, here's our 2 lines. Here's one line, here's our other one. These are both inside of them, and they're on different sides of this transversal. Okay? So there's actually 2 pair of alternate interior angles. You have the angles here and here that are labeled 4 and 5. The other pair of alternate interior angles are right here and here. Okay, they're both inside of these 2 lines and on different sides of this transversal here. Now, right below it, we have alternate exterior angles. As you guys can see, hopefully, they're both on the different sides, right? They're both on each different side of that transversal, but this time it's exterior because it's on the outside of these 2 lines. So I've got an angle 1 that's on the outside and on the left, and 8 is on the outside on the right. I have a second pair of alternate exterior angles. It's here and here. Now often you'll see alternate exterior and alternate interior abbreviated. I use AEA for alternate exterior angles. Any guesses as to what we would do for alternate interior angles? AIA. Okay? Excuse me. Okay, and then that leaves us with our last pair of angles called consecutive angles. Now, whenever you see the word consecutive, I want you to think C the C. Okay? Because I want you to see the letter C. So if I look, angle 3 is using this angle. Angle 5 is using this angle. Do you see the letter C? I know it's backwards, okay? It's like flipped, reflected, but it's a backwards C, okay? Consecutive angles are between these 2 lines, and they're on the same side of that transversal. Now we have a second pair of consecutive angles, which I think you'll see the C a lot easier. The other 2 angles that are consecutive are these 2. okay? If you look, here's one angle, and then here's the second angle. That C is much more apparent. Oh no, I used Michigan colors. Blue and yellow, no. Okay, so hopefully you guys see the C. Again, that's consecutive. And maybe you'll remember there's two C's, consecutive. Where's corresponding? Do you see two C's in the word corresponding? You guys know me. I always have to come up with crazy ways to remember these. Okay, so corresponding, I don't have two C's, whereas consecutive, I definitely have C. Two C's, so C to C. And there those two C's are. Okay, so go ahead and flip over the page. I want you to take a look at this. I'm going to have your substitute pause the video here, and then you're going to list all pairs of angles of the given type for me. And then we'll see what you came up with. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and try this, and then we'll go ahead and press play and I'll tell you the answers. All right, so I hope you guys had enough time to do this. We want to identify all pairs of angles of that given type. So first thing that will help you if you are struggling is to identify the transversal, because I did rotate this slightly on you. Remember, the transversal is the one that passes through the other two. So if it helps, you could try to make that little red line I colored over it, make that vertical, and then hopefully you'll see it just like we did before. Okay, so first type we're gonna list are the corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are all in the same location. So for example, let's start with 8. Okay, I'm looking at angle 8, and remember, it's like I'm looking at this group of 4 angles and this group of 4 angles. Angle 8 happens to be on the right side of that line and on the bottom of the transversal. So over here, 4 is also on the right and below. So angles 4 and angle 8 are considered corresponding. Okay, so let's take a look now at angle 6. Angle 6 happens to be above and to the right. Angle 2 is also above and to the right. So those are also a pair of corresponding angles. We should have a total of 4. Okay, our next pair, let's look at 7. 7 happens to be below the transversal and to the left. 3 is also below the transversal and to the left. So angle 3 and angle 7 are corresponding. And then that leaves us with our last pair. 1 is to the left and above. 5 is to the left and above. So 1 and 5 are considered corresponding angles. Okay, so let's take a look again at alternate interior. Again, I want to color over that transversal. Okay, so alternate means they're going to be on different sides of the transversal. In this case, we're looking above and below. And it says interior, so we have to be looking at the ones on the inside. Okay, so we're looking at the ones on the inside of these two lines. So there are 2 pair. 2 is inside of those 2 green lines. 2 is above that red, so I need to go below. So 2 and 7 are considered alternate interior. We also have 4 is inside, and on the other side of it, 4 is below, so on the other side, 5 is above. So angle 4 and angle 5 are considered alternate interior. Okay, so now I've got alternate exterior. So again, we're still looking at these 2 lines. We want exterior this time, so we want them to be on the outside of those 2 green lines. So again, we have 2 pair. 1 is on the outside and above that red line. 8 is on the bottom and on the outside. So angles 1 and angle 8 are alternate exterior. And then our other pair would be 3 and 6. Okay, below is 3, to the left of that green line is 3, so it's on the exterior, and then 6 is above that red line, and then it's on the outside of those 2 green lines. Okay, and the last one is consecutive, which is, can you see the C? Okay, so they both have to be inside, and they have to be on the same side of the transversal. So if you look, here's 4. Okay, that's inside. and 7 are both on the same side of that red transversal. So 4 and 7, if you can see the letter C there, those are considered consecutive. And then our other pair is going to be above, angle 2 and angle 5. And I know that C looks kind of like that, but that's our second pair, angle 2 and angle 5. All right, so I'm hoping you guys are getting this. I really am. I sure do miss you all. I'll be back Monday, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up right where we were. Okay, so I'm going to have you grab a device, your phones, and I'm going to have you go ahead and give this Kahoot a try. The whole point of this Kahoot, it's going to be repetitive, is to help you memorize these names. Okay, so if you don't yet know what alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive, corresponding angles, if you don't know them yet, okay, try not to look at your notes. Maybe talk to your neighbor first about it before we actually do the Kahoot, but the whole point of the Kahoot is to help you memorize them. Okay, that's the goal of today's lesson, is for you to memorize these. Okay, so once you're done with the Kahoot, then you guys can start on the homework from the textbook. Okay, and there is that classroom set of textbooks that you guys can use. All right, good luck.